Hi everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter, and I am here with a card video today. I actually created this card here for the Walden release from Studio Calico. It was the November kit, and I got this little kind of acrylic. It kind of reminds me of like a Dymo embossing label printer, but I wanted to recreate this card and do it in a way that I could mass produce it. So I thought I'd kind of alter this card and show you how you can kind of mass produce this card. So I'm starting out with a piece of craft cardstock from Hero Arts, and I cut it to 4 1/4 by 11 and then scored it at 5 1/2 to create my card base. While I have my little scoreboard out, I'm just going to add 3 scoring lines kind of about a 1/2 inch in from the side of that card. This will be the right side of the card when I get it all folded up. And they're just 1/8 of an inch apart. Once I got all my scoring done, I went ahead and creased my fold with a bone folder. And I'm going to use this stamp set here. This is the Wreath stamp set from Studio Calico, and I have links to all the products used in this project at my blog as well as in the description at YouTube. And I have this little dot stamp from that Wreath stamp set, and I want to add some detail to the side of this card, but I don't want to get it onto over those score lines. So I went ahead and masked that off with a piece of Post-it tape. And then I'm taking this dot and some Color Box white pigment ink, and I'm just stamping kind of a staggered pattern of these dots. And you can see that completed pattern there. To add a little sparkle to this, I'm just taking a piece of this American Crafts glitter paper and adding that onto the front of the card with some ATG adhesive. And then I'm going to round the bottom left-hand corner of this with the We Are Memory Keepers 3/8 inch corner chomper. So now that I have the card base kind of all completed, I'm going to go ahead and work on my wreath. Now, I'm going to emboss this, so I'm inking it up with some Versamark ink and stamping it onto my white cardstock. And I have some leaf embossing powder by Zing, and I'm just putting that on there, and then I'm going to heat set this. Now, if you don't want to go through the steps of embossing and you're going to create tons and tons of these, you could also use just a green ink, and I linked the Studio Calico Limelight ink below as well because that would work perfect for this. Now for my bow, I'm just going to stamp it in just some well-read ink from Studio Calico, and here's kind of probably the most time-consuming part is cutting out the bow, although it is so geometric that it really didn't take much time at all. And this wreath I also fussy cut, but it's very geometric, so it's kind of like snip, snip, and it's done. Now on the original card, to cut out the center of that wreath, I used a craft knife, but if I'm going to mass produce this, I'm not going to do that with a craft knife. So I just found a 1-inch circle punch worked really well for that and gave me the same effect and a much cleaner look actually in the long run. And so when I assemble those will end up like that. I have this Very Merry stamp set from J.J. Bolton and Studio Calico, and I'm going to use that for the sentiment. I wanted to find something kind of long and skinny that I could kind of recreate that acrylic piece with, and I tried stamping this in some white pigment ink first, but I decided it wasn't bright enough against that black cardstock, so I went ahead and cleaned off my stamp and re-inked it in some Versamark ink and then put on some white embossing powder and then heat set that, and that gave me much more that bright white look that I was going for. I just trimmed off that sentiment piece using my paper trimmer, and then I grabbed some of my foam adhesive, and I'm just cutting some pieces to put behind the wreath as well as behind that bow, and then I can attach that bow to my wreath, and then there's craft or foam adhesive behind the wreath as well, and then I attach that to the front of the card. Now for the sentiment piece, I'm also going to attach that with some foam adhesive, but I'm just going to put it on the very ends of that so that the foam adhesive will kind of straddle that wreath. And I didn't put any behind the part where it actually touches the wreath. So I'm going to be adding some gems, but I wanted to show you an alternate way to add some berries to your wreath, and that's using this Christmas red stickles, and you can see I just kind of showed you that there. That's a fun sparkly way to add the berries to your wreath as well, but I'm actually using these little gems that I bought from Michaels. So there are the 2 completed cards, the one that I created using the Walden card kit, and then also one that I created just using some other supplies that were more mass producible or more non-consumable in my stash. So here's a look at the final card. Like I mentioned before, I have links to all the products used in this project over at my blog, as well as more information over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. There's also links to all the products below in the YouTube description. Thanks for watching and have a fabulous day.